Good day to you. Today we'll take a look at a chapter which talks about welfare, health and safety measures in organizations. The statutory legislations lay down a common minimum platform wherein the organizations should follow certain measures for the benefit of its employees. So let us take a detailed look at what are the different provisions and what are organizations doing towards this area. Now, it started off as a traditional welfare function. Let's say, take a look at welfare, the state of faring or doing well, freedom from calamity, enjoyment of health. This implies efforts to improve the conditions of living for a group of employees or workers. It was always aimed at improving the conditions of living for a group of workers. That's where the welfare notion came in. Now, employers wanted to provide welfare to improve morale and loyalty of employees. That's how it started off, because work problems impact performance of employees. The absence of certain basic conditions will lead to dissatisfaction and it affects the safety aspect. So employers started concentrating on the welfare measures to beat the competition and attract and retain employees. This was seen as an avenue to beat your competitors and retain employees based on the environmental conditions and the work conditions. If it's better than your competitor, they'll stick to you. That was the idea. As CSR towards employees, as corporate social responsibility measure towards employees. Now, let's take a look at occupational health. Now, occupational health programs typically involve identifying actual or potentially hazardous substances, conditions or processes which might affect your workforce. Now, if you are dealing with certain products in the process of your production which are hazardous, which are classified as hazardous by legislations, or if you feel that in the total work process and in the value chain this will create some kind of potential harm to the employees, you need to identify those substances and try to minimize or eliminate those risks. Now, identifying the effects of methods of work on the human body and mind. Now, what is the total effect of a particular process, a work process, on the human body and mind? Does it create stress, physical stress and mental stress? You need to identify. Now, exercising control over the working environment so as to minimize the risk. So, the whole endeavor is to identify the risk and to put a sort of control mechanism wherein you can reduce or totally eliminate the risk aspect so that there is a positive working environment and there is a healthy working environment. Now, what are the traditional causes of ill health? Noise. Let's say excessive noise has an adverse impact on the long-term health. Hearing impairment is a very common, like say, workplace disorder wherein you have effects, significant ill health effects on the employee because of prolonged exposure to very high noise levels. General environmental hygiene, let's say the temperature, the work temperature in the work environment, or the ventilation, hygiene and the basic sanitary measures always has a significant impact, and the lack of these measures will have certain negative impacts. Now, hazardous substances and work related diseases, as I mentioned earlier, you need to identify what are the hazardous substances if in case it is involved in your production process, and what are the work related diseases. Say for example, is it asbestosis or silicosis? You need to identify any particular disease which might be as a result of your production process. Now, manual handling operations, say in the construction industry, or say for example manual laborers, they do a lot of lifting. So what is the impact of this kind of lifting on their backs? What is the long-term prospects, and what are the ways in which you can reduce the possibility of any workplace accident? So you need to evaluate and identify the areas of high risk areas and reduce the pain points for the workers. Use of computer workstations. Now, this is the modern age wherein everybody has to use a computer, and invariably from 9 to 5 you end up using the computer without being aware as to what your posture is, what you're doing. It causes a strain on your eyes, your lower back and your shoulders. So most of the modern diseases, or let's say the cause for ill health, is related to the use of a computer. So measures have to be taken to identify technology and providing the right equipments to reduce this kind of ill health at the workplace. And coming to the last one, maternity. It's one of the reasons why you have a special risk group. Women, you need to identify what are the causes of discomfort for them during their maternity period. When they are having a point in time, you need to provide special care for them so as to eliminate any kind of risk involved in the workplace. Now, As an organization, you need to have an occupational health policy, and what are the elements to be provided in this occupational health policy? Hazard minimization. Identify the hazards and have strategies to minimize those particular hazards. Now, information about hazards, you have to publicize and make your employees aware and sensitize them on different hazards by displaying warning signs, providing them training, giving them brochures, and providing the right equipments, say state of the art equipments, and having a training program for the workers to work with these equipments in the right way so as to minimize the hazards. As I said, training in the use of equipment, employers' responsibilities and employees' responsibilities, what you as an employer have to do to increase the welfare, health and safety aspects, and what are the employees' responsibilities. The monitoring of occupational health, from a periodical point of view, you have to carry out certain tests, medical tests for your employees to monitor their health levels so as to keep a check on the overall health of your workforce. Moving on. Now, absenteeism is a typical problem wherein the production goes down. So what are the normal causes, say for example, not related to your workplace accidents, but in general, what are the causes? Let's say employee absence can be of the following types, say maternity leave in case of women, paternity leave for men, and parental leave just in case for taking care of children up to a certain minimum age, and reasonable time off to handle, say let's say there is a death in the family. Most of the organizations have a bereavement policy wherein you need to handle such situations. The employee must take a couple of days off. So you need to provide for these kind of leave policies so as to have a positive impact on the employee's mind and support him in his career. Now let's say what is the absence procedure, what needs to be done to maintain an effective work practice. Now employees by right should notify their absence to their line managers, in the worst case to the HR department. So complete an absence form and return to work. As and when they return, they should fill up an absence form providing the details of their absence and what is the reason behind it. Now, this gives you an idea when you look back after a point in time, what was the reason, was there a medical history if you are dealing with any potential legal disputes or insurance cases. Now if it's a case of sick leave, he has to produce medical certificate and to be certified by your company doctor. Notify in case of serious illness. Now in case the employee is seriously ill and the magnitude is a very high risk, you need to notify and also keep a tab on what is the event happening in this particular case. Look for suitable alternative work. If the employee has returned and is not in his full capacity to deliver the goods, he needs to be given suitable alternative work. Now check employee's entitlement to relevant benefits. Because of loss of pay, he might be in a position wherein he can give only a reduced output, so he needs to be lifted up, and you as an employer need to do what needs to be done by giving him additional benefits which is entitled to, either leave or pay, whichever is entitled to based on his grade and his tenure. The benefits should be provided.